All right, guys. So after watching the All 22 of Alabama versus Florida State, lot of things compared to the other videos that I changed because I've watched it about a couple of times now. Some of my opinions have changed. Some of it is exactly the same. But you know what? It is a common thing, and I agree with Christian Miller, former Alabama player. He has his own podcast. I completely agree with him by saying this: Bama ran multiple different looks, of course. Of course, Bama runs primarily with their swarm defense, right, which is a 4-2-5. But guess what? Everyone, in a way, kind of runs has a 4-2-5 in their looks. The way that Alabama kind of runs it, it's more meant for pass disruption, more meant to stop kind of pass-heavy spread offenses because Bama likes to blitz. They like to blitz a lot with their linebackers, and they like to kind of penetrate. It's not all about like gap. It's not about gap control, which is something that I really wanted. If you're going to play an offense like this, you got to have more gap integrity. You got to have more gap control instead of simply having it's simply just having, penetrating one gap defensive tackles. Now, was it like that all the time? No, because there were other times where we did play with gap integrity. Our linebackers simply couldn't fill. Why they couldn't fill? Because they couldn't diagnose the play. They couldn't really diagnose the play. Or if they did, they were too slow they were too slow, whether it was Green with his lack of lateral agility. Jefferson just looked lost. I mean, the entire day, it didn't matter what, he just looked lost. And then Lawson is always a step or two behind.Maybe that's the ACL injury. But even then, when he's taking on blockers, he's always on the inside, on the inside shoulder of the blocker, which again, he's always on the inside shoulder of the blocker, making it really easy for these blockers to continue to be sticky with the player's paws. And he's always using the wrong shoulder. He's never getting his helmet to the outside. He's never getting that outside arm loose. It's just bad technique. And he's 225 pounds. Both linebackers are severely undersized. They couldn't attack the gaps properly and diagnose it. The safeties were absolutely garbage. Garbage. Didn't matter if it was our rover, our husky, our free safety, and strong safety. They were terrible in terms of diagnosing the play. Now, of course, they had some moments. Sapp actually, I thought, played a better game than what I got to give him credit for. I gave too much credit to Bray Hubbard. Bray Hubbard was terrible. Someone gave me shit for it in the last video. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Bray Hubbard has some nice moments where he did a really good job of stuffing the gap, especially when we decided to kind of bring the safeties down. But my goodness gracious, bro. Bray Hubbard was terrible. His pursuit angles, jogging on the play. I know that one clip that went viral, it was him jogging on the clip. That happened multiple times where he's literally jogging on the field where he actually had the pursuit angle to get to the ball carrier. And he just lack of effort. Tackling was atrocious. The safeties, whether it was Zay Mincy, Jones, Deshaun Jones, it was just the safeties played like garbage. The only one I thought safety that played played a little bit better than what I expected it to was Sapp. There were multiple times where Sapp took on blockers and was able to force and go out there and make tackles. Our boundary corners, I thought, actually did a better job than what people are kind of giving them credit for. There were multiple times when they were like those 2-3 yard sort of games, whether if it was like sweeps, whether if it was kind of like more of the sweeps. There were a couple times where a boundary corner was able to kind of undercut a blocker, forcing the ball carrier to kind of cut back inside, and that's when you met all different type of hats. There were a couple times where that happened. Again, Damani Jackson didn't get torched. Why? Because he didn't have to. They didn't really go after Damani Jackson. Again, they went after Dijon Lee, but I'm gonna honestly, that might just be again, Dijon Lee got torched, yes. That actually might be on the safety. Because there's no way in hell I'm putting a true freshman corner playing off-man coverage against one of the best vertical receivers in college football. And there's no safety over the top. And knowing that our safeties pretty much couldn't diagnose for shit, they kept playing the wrong sort of assignments, I wouldn't be surprised at all if that was a busted coverage because the safety was supposed to help Dijon Lee over the top. Hence why a press man 6'4" corner has playing off man against one of the fastest, best vertical threats in college football. Now, in terms of what I thought we could have done, I thought we should have played a lot more shallow. I thought we should have played a lot more shallow with our coverages. I thought that honestly, if you're gonna run these looks, whether if you're gonna run if you're gonna run a 3-2-6, if you're gonna run a 3-3-5, and we tried to disguise it, but I thought we needed to run a lot more 4-3, or we needed to run a lot more of the 3-4 looks that we shown a little bit earlier. We needed to run, in my personal opinion, a lot more kind of split coverage, something like some sort of cover two, some sort of cover two zone where your safeties are covering the deep part of the field, and you have your linebackers and your linebackers, your other nickels. They're covering more of the shallow parts of the field. They're covering the flats. They're kind of covering the hooks. But we needed to tighten a lot more in coverage, and honestly, we needed to have a nickelback or even a safety that could have been in charge. Maybe that could have been our rover, someone to be in charge of the motion man just in case. Now, we shifted a couple times in coverage. We were able to rotate, shift in coverage, and we saw in particular moments that it worked, some moments that it didn't work, but that's what we just needed to continue to do. We needed to play a lot more shallow. We needed to find a way to play more gap control, not just with the defensive line, but with our linebackers as well in terms of filling. We could have went more into a 4-3 when you're playing with that extra linebacker. We did play some 4-3, hence why Nickel Green was more in the game. But Christian Miller said it best, and I absolutely agree with this. The personnel was garbage. No matter sometimes what the defensive coordinator was calling, and yes, there were a lot of disagreements of what I thought we could have been calling, especially by running more three-man fronts. Could it work? Yes. But if you're going to run a three-man front against a more running offense, you got to have bigger bodies. You got to have bigger bodies. You can't be running sometimes with two bandit players and a defensive tackle and thinking that that's automatically going to work. No, you needed bigger bodies. You needed like a Jeremiah Beeman. I know Tim Keenan was out there, but again, James Smith is one of your bigger. You needed bigger bodies besides a redshirt freshman that's like 285 pounds in there, or just having more bandit players like Wanze Pierre playing that 4-eye tech. No, you needed more bigger bodies. So I don't know, man. Even again, when you're motioning the receiver, again, you could have brought the safeties down. You could have brought one of the, that could have been a signal for one of the safeties to come down. And it doesn't have to be your free or your strong. If you're going to be more in the 3-2-6, that should automatically at least tell your husky, your rover, or maybe your nickel corner that, yeah, we got to have responsibility and come a little bit more down on this particular player. We needed to do a better job in terms of shifting, in terms of not just recognizing what was coming, but we needed to play a lot tighter in the line of scrimmage. Again, play a lot more shallow, tighten the coverage, play a lot more in the flats, in the flats, the hooks, even a little bit in your low curls. We could have potentially went into like a 3-2-6, disguised it more into like quarters coverage. Again, you have your corner, and you could have had like your corner, you could have had like your safeties play that deep zone, and then everyone else plays tightened, and everyone else kind of plays close up. They're tightened a little bit more in coverage. Again, they're not going to threaten you in the passing game. That's what kind of confused me. They're not going to threaten you in the passing game. So this, honestly, we should have been playing a lot more tight with our coverage, anyway. But yeah, guys, that's just my personal opinion. You guys can disagree with it. I know a lot of you guys are a lot more knowledgeable than me. So if you guys have any ideas of what we could have done, I mean, I heard a couple guys with some really bright ideas, but I just felt like, again, personnel plays a huge important factor. It does. It's not just, again, do I like the swarm defense? No, I don't like this concept of the swarm defense. Not because we run more of a nickel style of defense, but because it's the personnel usage that we use in this swarm defense that pisses me off. Because I know that for some reason Womack is stubborn in terms of his approach with his personnel usage. So that's what pissed me off about it. And then again, we're running a 3-2-6, which is more of a dime defense. We are running some 3-3-5, which is 3-3-5, which includes a lot more of our nickel and then some of the other safeties that are being included into it. I understand it. I get it. But this was a game that I would include it more of a 3-4. This was a game that I would include it more of a 4-3. And I would have just continued to load those boxes up. Or if I'm going to be in coverage, I'm tightening the coverage. I'm making sure that I'm going to be covering a lot more of the shallow, more than I am going to be more of the back end. Again, at some point, we have to trust these safeties. We got to continue to, we have to trust our safeties, but our nickels, these Huskies, these Rovers, they got to do a better job in terms of diagnosing. Kay Womack has to put these players in a better position to diagnose and to recognize. But after watching that all 22 shit, the amount of times of these safeties just looking confused and not knowing what the fuck to do is insane. That is coaching. If these players don't know what to do with their responsibility, yeah, it doesn't matter what the hell you're going to be calling, because these players look like they haven't been studying in the film room. And I am going to make another video talking about culture, because when I made the video last year talking about that destroying video, when Jalen Murrow was up there and saying that, listen, you know, when Nick Saban walked into the meeting room, all the players shut the music off. Everybody was quiet. But when Kalen DeBoer walks in that meeting room, man, music is still blasting. We're still having a good time. Kalen DeBoer is laughing with the players and shit like that. And it's not until like 15, 20 minutes later that we get into that we actually get into the meeting. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the thousands, the tens of thousands of dollars that they invested into the game room. We're going to talk about that punk-ass cotton candy machine. We're going to talk about it all, because culture is a factor. You got coaches, you got rumors of coaches bickering with each other, which I don't mind, but you know, they're bickering with each other. The players are not really getting along, and it's not like it's like 2015, 2016, or even like old Saban shit where you know players were fighting on the sideline. It's not like that. Like, it's just like it's no camaraderie. There's no culture. There's no culture. There's no leaders. And listen, these players, we're gonna have to eventually turn the page. But we have to solve the issue, right? People can say, well, Jared, why don't you turn the page? Well, because we have to talk about the issue. If we can't address the issue into what the hell is actually going on, then how do you expect us as fans to actually have an understanding in terms of what the hell was going on? And what can we do to fix it? So I am going to try to address as many times as possible. But again, I just wanted to make this quick video. I just want to make, not a quick video, but I did watch the All 22, right? So I'm a little bit less bullish on Womack. Do I still like Womack's defense? Hell no. But I understand completely. Like, listen, every defense runs multiple looks. You kind of have to run multiple looks in this modern style of defense, like Clint Lamb was saying. But there were things that I felt like we should have done. We definitely should have done by going more into like a 3-4, 4-3 sort of look. Or we could have done a better job in terms of disguising our looks by going into something else, like, I don't know, like a cover 2, maybe even a quarters. And again, we needed to play a lot more shallow with our coverage to take care of the motion and to take care of the veer. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if your linebackers can't fill the gap, if your linebackers can't diagnose, and if your safeties can't diagnose and they can't play that responsibility in terms of handling the boundary assignments, sometimes it's just nothing you can really do. And it's not like Womack called one thing and it didn't work. No, he called a lot of shit that simply just didn't work because the personnel on the field just couldn't really handle the responsibility. Well, here's another thing that, again, this is definitely going to be on coaching. If they can't handle the responsibility, take their ass out the game and put someone else there that can handle it. Or at least is going to die on the damn sword if they can't even follow the responsibility. Because the amount of times I've seen players jog and just lack effort and try to arm tackle, take that shit out. I'd rather have someone there. I'd rather have a dumbass coming on the field and at least give 100% effort besides a player jogging on the field. That shit's embarrassing. Players laughing on the field when we're getting blown out by when we're losing by 2 scores. That shit's embarrassing. And that's culture. That's culture, and that's reflective on the coaching staff that we have here. So I am going to make another video on that, but just want to kind of give you guys more of an update of what I saw and what I thought we could have done. Again, let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.